It was supposed to be just another Sunday ride. The engines roared, the air was crisp, and the road stretched endlessly under the sun. But then, something happened that froze every biker on that highway. A man lay motionless on the road, blood on the pavement, a broken bicycle beside him, and no one around to help. Cars swerved past. No one stopped, until they did. And what those bikers did next shocked everyone. Before we dive into this unbelievable story of courage, compassion, and redemption, make sure you hit that subscribe button and turn on notifications, because stories like this restore faith in humanity, and you don't want to miss the next one. The morning sun was bright over the Colorado highway. The world seemed peaceful, almost too peaceful for what was about to unfold. A group of 6 bikers from Denver, known locally as the Road Souls, were out for their usual Sunday ride. They weren't a gang, just ordinary men and women bonded by chrome freedom and brotherhood. Leading the group was Ethan, a man in his early 30s. A veteran who had seen war and lost friends, he now found peace in the roar of engines and the smell of open roads. Riding beside him was Mia, his best friend and the only woman in the group, tough, fierce, and fearless. Behind them rode Tom, Luis, Jake, and Connor, all bonded by one simple rule: never leave anyone behind. As they curved around a long stretch near Pine Valley, Ethan's sharp eyes caught something ahead on the right side of the highway. At first, he thought it was just road debris. But then, the sunlight glinted off something metallic, and his gut told him it wasn't just a piece of metal. "Hold up," Ethan shouted through his mic. The bikes slowed, one by one, their engines rumbling like a protective wall of sound. When they pulled over, the group saw him, a man in his late 40s, wearing a torn jacket, lying face down beside a twisted bicycle. There was a pool of blood near his head, and his hand still gripped the handlebar as if refusing to let go. "Jesus," whispered Mia as she ran forward. "He's still breathing." Cars kept flying past, honking, some slowing down just to look, but none stopping. Ethan pulled off his helmet, knelt beside the man, and placed 2 fingers on his neck, a faint pulse. Weak, but there. "Tom, call 911, Ethan ordered. "Louis, block the lane. No one's running him over today." While Tom made the call, Ethan turned the man gently on his side. His face was bruised and dusty, his eyes barely open. "Sir, can you hear me?" Ethan said softly. The man murmured something faint, "Me son, school bus," and passed out again. "Son," Mia repeated, confused. "There's no one here." That's when Ethan noticed something in the man's pocket, a small, crumpled photo. He opened it. In it was the same man, smiling beside a little boy, maybe 8 years old, wearing a school uniform. The paramedics said they'd take at least 15 minutes to arrive. But something about that man's words, "my son's school bus," didn't sit right with Ethan. He looked around. The man's bicycle wasn't just damaged. It was crushed like something had hit it hard. And a few feet down the road, skid marks cut across the asphalt, leading toward the woods. "Guys," Ethan said, standing up. "Something's not right. He wasn't just in an accident. Someone hit him and ran." Mia's eyes widened. "A hit and run?" "Yeah," Ethan said. "And maybe his kid's out there too." Without wasting a second, Ethan jumped on his bike and turned toward the trail of skid marks. Mia followed, and the others stayed to guard the man until the ambulance came. As the 2 bikers rode through the narrow dirt path leading into the woods, they noticed pieces of broken glass glinting in the sunlight. Then, a small red backpack hung from a tree branch, torn with a name stitched in white thread. "Danny." "Danny," Mia whispered. "That must be his son." They parked and started running. Just a few hundred feet in, they heard it, a faint cry. "Help someone, please." Ethan sprinted toward the voice and found a small boy trapped under a fallen branch, his leg bleeding. The school bus he mentioned was a small bicycle trailer, crushed. "Hey buddy, you're okay?" Ethan said gently, lifting the branch with Maya's help. "You're safe now." The boy looked up, tears streaking his dusty face. "My dad, he tried to push me away when the truck came." That hit Ethan like a bullet. The father had shielded his son with his own body. "Your dad's okay," Ethan said, even though he wasn't sure. "His hurt, but help's on the way." Maya tore a strip from her scarf and wrapped it around the boy's leg to stop the bleeding. She looked at Ethan. "We've got to get him to the road fast." Ethan carried Danny in his arms and ran back toward the bikes. By the time they reached the road, the ambulance had just arrived. The paramedics rushed both father and son inside, and Ethan stood there watching as the sirens faded into the distance. Most people would have left then, but not the road souls. A few hours later, Ethan visited the hospital. The man, whose name was Mark, was in critical condition, unconscious but stable. His son Danny sat quietly beside his bed, clutching that same photo. The nurse told Ethan that Mark was a single father. He worked 2 jobs, delivered food on that old bicycle, and still found time to take Danny to school every morning. The day of the accident, a pickup truck had sideswiped them and sped off. No witnesses, no license plate. Something inside Ethan burned. He had seen too many people escape justice. He wasn't letting this one go. That night, he called a meeting at their garage. "We're finding that driver," he said firmly. "No hit-and-run coward gets away while a kid's in the hospital." Louise, their tech-savvy member, started searching through local traffic cams. Hours passed until he found a blurry image. A gray pickup speeding away near Pine Valley around the same time as the accident. Jake recognized it immediately. "That's a 2010 Silverado. My cousin has one, same dent near the fender." By morning, they had a partial plate number. Louise traced it to a mechanic shop 30 miles away. Ethan didn't tell the cops yet. He wanted to be sure first. The next day, the road souls rolled into that town. The rumble of 6 bikes announced their arrival. The shop owner, a bulky man named Rick, stepped out. "Can I help you boys?" he said, wiping grease from his hands. Ethan held out the photo of the damaged Silverado. "We're looking for the guy who owns this truck. Hit a man and a kid near Pine Valley." Rick's eyes flickered nervously. "Never seen it, but Mia noticed fresh gray paint on one of the lifts and blood on a torn bumper lying nearby." Ethan's voice hardened. "You sure about that?" The tension was thick. Rick's eyes darted toward the back door. Before he could move, Connor stepped in front of it. Finally, Rick cracked. "Look, I didn't mean for this to happen. It was my nephew Kyle." He panicked. He was drunk. Ethan's jaw tightened. "Where is he now?" Rick hesitated, then pointed down the road toward an old trailer park. Ethan turned to his crew. "Let's go." When they reached the trailer park, they found Kyle, a young man in his 20s, sitting outside, beer in hand. The moment he saw the bikers, his face turned pale. "You hit a man and his kid," Ethan said calmly, stepping forward. "You left them to die." Kyle stammered. "I didn't mean to." "I freaked out. I thought they were dead." "You thought wrong," Ethan said. "They're alive. But if you've got any shred of decency left, you'll turn yourself in right now." Kyle looked down, shaking. "I'll go, I swear." Ethan called the local sheriff, gave them everything, the confession, the footage, the location. When the cops took Kyle away, Ethan didn't feel satisfaction. He just felt peace. 2 days later, Mark woke up, his eyes fluttered open, and the first thing he saw was his son sitting beside him, smiling. Ethan stood quietly at the door, his helmet under his arm. When Mark noticed him, his eyes filled with tears. "I remember your face," Mark said weakly. "You were there when everyone else passed by." Ethan smiled. "We just did what anyone should." Mark shook his head. "No, not everyone stops. Most just keep driving." Danny ran up and hugged Ethan's leg. "My dad says you're heroes." Ethan knelt, patting the boy's shoulder. "No, buddy. Your dad's the hero. He protected you." When they left the hospital, the road souls decided to do something more. They started a small foundation called Ride for Hope, raising funds for victims of road accidents. Within months, bikers from across the state joined in, turning their weekend rides into missions of kindness. News channels covered their story. Social media blew up with photos of bikers helping accident victims, feeding the homeless, and delivering supplies to flood-hit areas. What started as one act of compassion became a movement. A year later, Mark and Danny attended their annual charity rally. Mark had a new job, Danny was in a better school, and their bond with the bikers had grown like family. When it was time for Ethan to speak on stage, he said something that silenced the crowd. "We ride fast. We ride free, but sometimes the road stops us for a reason. That day we were meant to stop. To remind the world that kindness doesn't need a badge, a title, or a uniform, just a heart willing to act." The audience rose to their feet, clapping, some with tears in their eyes. And as the sun set behind the roaring bikes, you could almost feel that somewhere out there, another soul in need might just get lucky. Because somewhere, a biker will stop again. If this story touched your heart, hit the like button, Share it with someone who believes kindness still exists, and don't forget to subscribe for more real life stories that restore faith in humanity. Now tell us in the comments, from which part of the country are you watching this today? Because somewhere out there, one act of kindness can start with you.